Hey guys, welcome back to Little Boy Customs. Today we're going to be working on more prep work to get the cab to fit onto the car. Who knows, we may even actually get the cab onto the car, but I doubt it. Give you a little bit of an update. Can't see it from that angle, but you can from this angle here. We ground all the welds off, and this is pretty well prepped, ready for Bondo stage. We won't be doing that anytime soon, but that's the update. Guys, so in the last video, I made a comment about not sure if I wanted to cut this area here off or not. Thought it might be structurally part of the car that keeps it sound and yada yada yada. Well, you know what happens when not so smart people start thinking, as myself? Well, we think too much and we're dead wrong. So, after doing some more research, if you look down in there, and I'm not sure how well you can see, but if you look down through here, you see that this comes up, goes up. This side does the same thing. It's just a big old cavity in there. You actually have a metal plate that runs across at the bottom. So, after doing some measurement, really all this section right here is in my way. So, I have decided to cut all of this out somewhere right around in here and across. We already knew that this was sticking out too far, and I had already cut that once before right in that corner there and pushed this all in from the original time I was putting a cab on there. So now we're going to cut all this out as well, trying to make more room for the cab and the old dash that came in the cab. Here it is. We got it cut off. Used the Sawzall. Started out with the air tool over there. Wasn't going quick enough, so I used Sawzall. Misplaced my glasses. Come to find my safety glasses. Come to find out they're on top of my head. So, as you can see, my mind's not in the game today, but that's okay. We'll get through this. So what I did was I cut off it came down here, and this is where it would bend and go back that way. I just cut off right there, all the way across, and then this here is the part that comes up on the outside. I left part of it, not all of it, just part of it, and the reason why is because I'm going to try and use this to either weld off of in order to mount the cab or what have you. Worst case scenario is the next time that we mount the cab onto the car for test fitting, this is in the way or whatever, and we realize that we need to cut this off, and we will. So, then on top of that, I cut more of the pillars off here. This is the A pillar, or what would have been left of it. It's more actually in the door jamb than anything else. But we cut that off on both sides, and so this is what we have. So, it's looking a little lighter. Alright guys, as you can see, we have the cab back onto the car. Of course, cab's got to come back off one more time, but what I wanted to do was get some measurements. Now, as you can see, the cab's not fully forward yet. This right here is supposed to be up here. So I got to move the cab forward just a little bit. But the reason why I wanted to put this back on is to get some more measurements right in here with these pillars to get around this dash. And as you can see, like I said before, I'm going to cut all this out here too. But the other thing I wanted to do is I'm going to use this column. But what I wanted to do was get a good measurement here so that I can move this radius down and get it around the column. So that's what I did here. This is the original. It's really close to the driver's door. This one here is more centrally located. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this here, this side alone, and then I'm going to cut this out here and literally trim this part of it down here after I've cut it out and put this section here right here so it looks factory, and then we'll do a top bar to kind of close it all in. So that's where we're at. The other deal, of course, I've moved the cab around a little bit more since I marked these, because the car's sitting here and the cab's tilted a little bit right now because I was trying to see if I had my measurements right on the dash, and I do. But before I did all that, I went ahead and marked the lower half of the cab down here as far as where I'm going to cut it to get past the frame rails. So that's where we're at. Now what we're going to do is we're going to lift the cab back up, move the car out from underneath it, do some cutting on the cab, and then do some cutting on the car, and then put the cab back onto the car. Alright guys, we got the front of the, what was left of the old dash bracket cut back quite a bit on both sides. It's looking a lot better. Of course this is rubber flapping, but you get the idea. And then we cut the corners out on the cab here. And I'm going to tell you, the bottom of this cab is like listening to a Nickelback song. It's just horrible. This one's full of rust and everything, and well, this one is too. I mean, you can see daylight there. Bad. And then we cut this part of the dash out right up in here, and got that taken care of. I did keep the part that came here because I'm planning on re-welding it in over here. I may have to trim a little bit more of that out in order to get that to work, but we will. So guys, the other thing that I've been asked here recently is about my welding and what am I doing to weld on this cab and that kind of stuff. And so I figured I'd better show you. If you're OG subscriber, like 11 months ago, a year ago now, we started welding. We were welding with this right here. It was a farmhand. Yeah, farmhand 115. It was a farmhand 115 that we were welding with. And this was something I had found off of Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or something like that. I paid 50 bucks for this welder. It's a 110 series. It's supposed to do MIG and flex core. I never could get it to do MIG because it didn't have all the attachments for that. The guy that had it before me lost all that. And so it was just a flex core wire feeder. And it does okay for really small stuff, but because it's 110, it's kind of cantankerous to use and that kind of stuff. So after about, I used this from the beginning of the year last year until about August or something like that, whenever I quit being the police. And I moved over and bought myself one of these Hobart. I think that's how you say it. I don't know. But anyway, one of these welders here, and I do have all the attachments in order to make this a MIG welder, but right now I'm using it as a flux core welder. And yes, that's Harbor Freight brand stuff right there. But the reason why is because I have a bunch of this flex core wire, and so I want to use it all up before I move over to the gas stuff, and it works really good for me. So I turn this down to the lowest setting. And then I usually do a feed rate of about 30 or something like that. And the key, because I hear a lot of guys are saying that it's burning out on them and that kind of stuff. The key to flex core welding is having patience. And so this metal is super thin already and it'll burn through pretty quickly. So you want to tack weld, tack weld, tack weld, tack weld, tack weld, and then move on to somewhere else and tack weld, tack weld, tack weld. You don't want to do it in one spot too long, otherwise you'll burn out. And I know a lot of guys are going to say, you know what, flex core sucks and it's never going to weld and hold or anything like that. And if I hadn't ever welded with it before, I would totally agree with you, but I've welded a full cab onto this chassis was involved in a major accident that totaled the truck out, and the cab didn't move a single inch off of the chassis or any of that, or even the floorboards or any of that. The total top half of the cab was crushed in. So I beg to differ. I think flex core wire is just as good as anything else, and it's all about penetration. So this is what I originally had welded on. This was setting up here like that. That's where the windshield goes right there. And I put metal onto that and tied the cab into that part right there. And you can see where I had ground it off a little bit right through there. But all that was flex core wire welded, and as you can see, all the weld burn marks on the backside. That's where I had actually gotten the weld all the way through and got good penetration into the metal. So if you take patience, I'm telling you, if you use your patience and all that, I'm telling you, you can weld with flex core wire and it'll work fine for you. Just use patience and everything will be all right. That's going to be the end of this episode because I need help getting this cab back onto that car, and there ain't nobody here. The plan for the next episode is I'm going to put the cab onto the car, and we'll do some final adjustments, wiggling around and all that, and then hopefully it will be the last time we have to put it on there, and we'll start welding the cab onto the car. So that's the plan for what's coming up next. Hope you have enjoyed the last 3 videos of the 38 Chevrolet Coupe. I've enjoyed those mainly because I got to work with my dad and that kind of stuff, and so I enjoyed all that. All right, guys, that'll do it for this episode here. If you like what you saw, think about hitting that like button down there, and you know, if you haven't subscribed, you can always consider to do that as well. Until next time, be safe. I appreciate you watching.